Good morning, evening, or afternoon, depending on what side of the pond you're on, and welcome to an extra special edition of Across the Pitch. My name is Phil Kennedy, and I have Accrington Stanley historian and author Darren Woodhead along with me today, and we have a very special guest who spent 3 separate spells as a manager with Accrington Stanley in the 1980s and in early 1990s. Welcome to the show, Dave Thornley. So happy to talk with you today. Thanks for coming on the show, Dave.
No problem.
Thanks for coming on, Dave.
Looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it.
We've a bit to get through. Yeah, I've been lining this one up for a while. Myself and Phil, as we spoke a little bit earlier before we came on, we haven't really had anyone on from this particular era of the club when the club was advancing, moving on in some ways. And it'd be interesting to just capture what went on around that time. But before we do, let's just find a little bit about Dave Thornley, if that's all right, because I believe your early career, Dave, you were a little bit curtailed by injury, weren't you?
Yes. When I was 15, I was playing for the school. I went to Bolton Technical College in Bolton, where I was born and bred. And they always had the best team in the town, and we were, in this particular season, we were being very, very successful in the Lancashire Schools Championship, which we eventually won. But in the quarter-final, I injured my right knee, and there was no substitutes in those days, so I had to sort of play on a little bit, if you like, until it came to about half-time when, sadly, I could play no more. My knee was absolutely wrecked, to be honest with you. Never had a proper diagnosis because in them days nobody was interested. Went to the doctors, told him what the symptoms were. You'll be okay, you're only young. Well, I like to play football. Well, you could pack that in straight away, which was very nice thing to be told at 15, 16-year-old. Now, this game was actually on Bromwich Street, which was Bolton Wanderers training ground. And as I say, I had to come off at half time, so I went into the changing area. And those who were my age and a little bit younger will remember there was no showers in those days. What there was a big bath that was sort of 3 or 4 foot deep, built of brick with a 2-inch pipe coming down and a big valve on that spit the hot water into it. So the guy who was in charge of the pitch and the changing rooms for this particular game, he said, "Oh, you want the bath?" So, yeah, fine, okay, I didn't know any different. So he opened this big valve and the hot water gushed into the bath till it was about 2 foot deep. So in you go, so he said, so I stripped off and dived, or didn't jumped into the bath, sat there, came out looking like a turkey, like a lobster, absolutely red. But of course, I looked down to my knee and my dad walked into the changing room and his words were not printable on here, and certainly nothing I want to say. But, my knee was a mess. It had ballooned up because, of course, as later in life, the last thing you do when you have an injury like that is put anything eat on the damn thing. But
yeah, you needed the opposite.
It needed exactly the opposite. You need ice on, or certainly something cold. But you sit in a hot bath and you feel as though you feel $1 million, don't you, irrespective of what damage has been done under the water. Well, that was the first injury. That paid for me to go to a local physio who treated it, sort of shook his head as he saw it, and treated it to get the fluid out of it, etc., etc. I didn't play for 12 months. Well, to be honest, I finished the school season off because I told him that we were in the semi-finals and the final of the Lancashire Championship. So he told me how to strap the knee up, and I managed to play 2 games to see the season out. But the following season, there was an absolute no-no. The knee wasn't stable at all. So that was the first one, and to be honest with you, I was troubled with it for the rest of my life until about 6 years ago when I went into hospital and had it replaced. So I've got 2 knee replacements, and probably the best thing I've done for a long, long time, to be honest with you, Darren.
Yeah. Well, did that just put paid to a promising career, or did you get into any clubs at all? Or did you get trials at any clubs?
It didn't. No, yeah. What I did during the summer, I had 12 months off. I didn't play at all because by that time I'd started to work, of course. And I was working, and I decided I thought I'd go and play tennis because the local club nearby, so I went to play tennis. And I didn't have a twinge in it, to be honest with you. So I thought, this is great. I built it up and et cetera, et cetera. And then a guy called Eric Whalley, who's the old centre half at Blackpool, invited me to go down and play in a game. And I went down there, and Eric signed me on sort of like part-time forms that they had in those days. My dad insisted that with the injury, I continued progressing in my job. Played a few games, and lo and behold, the bloody thing went again. Excuse my language. So it was a little bit disappointing that what you want to do all your life looks like it's been snatched away from you through injury, and especially at such a young age. But from there, I recovered a little bit. Got my head around it. Went to play local football with my mates, as it were, and senior. Then I got into senior football, and I didn't have a problem with it then for a long time. And then I got invited to go to Wigan, and the manager at Wigan was a guy called Johnny Ball, who's the old Bolton fullback who I'd watched stood on the terraces there. And Johnny signed me, and that was a very, very bad winter. That was 1963, when the season lasted till it was almost as long as this season's Premier League went on through the bad weather. So I had a good chunk of a season at Wigan, and lo and behold, did the other knee. So there we go. Story of my life.
Obviously, the playing career wasn't going to work out, and then you went. So how did you actually get into coaching then, Dave? Did you have some time out of football altogether before you started coaching?
No. I had some time out because I had to work, and I just got married, so there was a mortgage to pay, and as much as I loved the football, I had to earn some money, and I carried on playing sort of with my mates, and then I got invited by a guy called Glyn Watson, who was the manager at Rosendale United, which is like 10 miles as the crow flies from where I live. And Glyn was looking for somebody to give him a lift on the injury side more than anything else, sort of sponge man, stroke, whatever. Couldn't call yourself a physio, because my knowledge was somewhat limited, but not as limited as a lot of them through the fact that I had these injuries myself. So it was quite poignant, really, that I took that side of the game over. And we did well. We had a decent season. The first match was against Chorley away. I played at Chorley in my younger days, so I knew where that was, and we went there and with a good end of season.
Yeah, and Rosendale they did quite well back in the day, didn't they? They were, a decent setup, wasn't it?
The second season was a very, very good team. I think the first season was Glyn's first. It was like a bit of a men team. But the second season, he'd actually put some work in during the summer, and with a good team, good set of lads, great set of lads. We got to the quarter-final of the trophy. When we played Slough, we lost to Slough 1 or 2, I can't remember, to be honest with you. But again, that season, the weather was very, very bad. And we played in the early rounds of the trophy. We were down to play Penrith. Now, you know where Rosendale is. It's cold in the summer at Rosendale. So the snow had stuck up there. And it was just, the game was postponed for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Until a phone call from Mosley said, look, we've got the snow on our pitch. How they did, I don't know. So we played Penrith at Mosley, came into the change room. I'll tell you, so forgive me if I'm spouting on a little bit, but we came into the change room and he said to the lads, I've just overheard a conversation between Penrith manager and Buxton manager, who the winner of our game was to play Buxton. He said, and they're actually arranging the day for the game. Now, what does that make you want to do? You roll your sleeves up, don't you? Great motivation to beat Penrith. Lo and behold, we beat Penrith, which was, that was good. We went to Buxton the next match a week later, 0 apiece, I think it was, or 1 apiece. It was certainly a low-scoring draw. They got a penalty. They missed the penalty, went over the bar from the goalkeeper, went down to the other end and we won. So that then put us into the quarter-final against Slough. So Buxton got the comeuppance, as indeed did Penrith. So it was good.
Yeah, good stuff. So as with a lot of people in the Northwest and probably all of Britain at that time with the non-league scene, there's a bit of a merry-go-round, isn't there? You had a few spells at different clubs.
Yeah.
One that stuck out to me where you ended up at Stalybridge, and quite a momentous game, weren't they, you were involved with at that time against Frickley? Yeah, tell us a bit about that, Dave.
I went to Stalybridge with Peter Bryan, who has passed away. Pete's a well-known lad in non-league football. Managed Stalybridge and Hyde, and then took Whitton to the trophy final at Wembley. And it was in the FA Cup, and we beat Workington. We had Workington at Bellafold, and Workington brought a coach load of not very nice people, then, shall we say. Waiting for them was the not very nice people from Stalybridge. So there was a bit of a scuffle after the game, and it was, on the pitch, and they were fighting, the police came, etc., etc. And then of all the clubs to get drawn against in the first round proper, Burnley, Derby, I can remember these vividly. Burnley, Derby, Bolton, Sheffield United were all possibles. They were all in the lower leagues. We got Frickley away. So off we go to Frickley. And on the Thursday night at the training, Ray, who was a chairman, came into the changing rooms after we trained on the Tuesday. He said, I've got a good coach for you, boy. He said, we're using an Oldham Athletics coach. Win, lose or draw, we're having a good night out. He said, but I've been told that there might be a bit of trouble, but I've told the people at Frickley to get extra police in to police the game. And their reply was, they're the last people who went, because it was during the miners' strike. So the last people that wanted at Frickley's ground was the miners. So off we go, and the Stalybridge lot were at one end, and the Frickley gang were at the other, who hadn't been working at all for weeks and weeks and weeks. And they started, and they're calling Scargill all sorts of names. And lo and behold, it kicked off, didn't it? Big style, let me tell you. It was terrible. Yeah. The referee, he was called Glover from Chorley, took us off. So we all sat in the changing rooms there. People were leaning against the door because there was, it really was nasty. We went out again, played the game, and came up in the second half. Again, all fighting in the middle of the pitch. So the game, it was never going to go to a replay, let's put it that way. He gave them a penalty, and they slotted a penalty on, and we came with our tail between our legs, having endured what was really quite a scary experience. So we got this very posh coach from Oldham with all the television, God knows what was on it, and we were all dressed up, expecting a good night out. And the police came into the changing room and said, right, lads, quick as you can. We've got a car outside. We've got one car in front of you, one car behind you. I want the lights off on the coach. I want any big coats that you've got. I want you crouching down under your seats with a big coat over the top of your head. We're going to break the coach. So we went over, I think there was like a Range Rover, and there's a big Zephyr behind us. And we went like that all the way through to the A1 until we cleared these idiots who were throwing stones at the coach. So, yeah, a bit scary, Darren.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, there were tough times around that miners' strike. It's difficult to put it into context now, isn't it? But I can imagine it, watching the news every night around that time and the violence that were going on, etc. And I've been to Frickley. It's not the most hospitable place in the world, is it?
Not at all. But I think the beauty of the miners' strike, or the striking miners, I should say, was that they were kicking off every day of the week, weren't they? So every half brick that they threw, they scored a coconut, because they perfected the accuracy. So, oh God, that'll
put you in good stead. Yeah, so put you in good stead for another bit of crowd trouble that we'll come on to in a minute when at another match when you come on to Stanley career. But right, yeah. So how did you end up getting to Stanley then, Dave? What were your first under Gary Pearce, wasn't it?
From Stalybridge, Pete got the job as Hyde. So I went to Hyde on the first season of the plastic pitch for a season, 2 seasons, a season and 3 quarters actually. I knew Eric because Eric had managed Clitheroe when Stalybridge had played them in the whatever it was, North West Counties. Hyde were in the one above. It was really time, for me to have a move. I felt. Pete and I were still good mates. Everything was right. There's nothing untoward. But I rang Eric up and I just said to Eric, look, I'm looking for a change. Have you anything going? He said, I don't have an assistant. I said, well, I'll do whatever. I'm not about job titles, don't bother me. What do you want? Can I help you? All right, of course you can. Yeah. Get yourself up here. So I went up, and the first match was a night match, and all the lads were in. Martin Eatop, Nick Ashcroft, Grimmy, Neil Rowbottom, all the lads who played up at that kid in those days. And of course, Eric walks in with me, and he said, right, hey, listen, hey. He was like, hey, listen, this is Dave.
Bit more high pitch than that, wasn't it?
Yeah, let me you know him, let me don't know him, let me tell you, he knows more about football than I know, and what he says you listen to. All right, boom, that was it, job was done.
Yeah.
And it's more about football than I think, was because I actually had more clubs, not that I knew more about football now, because very few people knew more about non-league football than the guy himself.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but
so
it was down the ball.
It was a finish of the season up there. I think that was the season that we actually lost to Eastwood Hamley. When they would have won, when they got promoted, we lost and came about fourth, I think.
And then Eric left, didn't he?
Eric
quite a lot of players with him around that time.
He went to Morecambe and took every player. Well, not took every player. That sounds wrong. I'm saying it something against that. Every player went with him. Not all to Morecambe, but Martin Eatoff went to Fleetwood. I think quite a few went to Morecambe with him. The only player that we had when we went up there was Gary Butcher. He was a nice player, Gary. But Eric did say to me, he said, you can come to Morecambe. He said, I think if you stick around here, you might get the Accrington job. So I thought, well, that wouldn't be a bad, a bit of a leak up, and I know the place now. I've got my teaching on the table a little bit. So I didn't go to Morecambe. I spoke to John Holty, or John Holty spoke to me, and we had a meeting in the Swanland Cemetery at Bury. I think Sam Adams turned up with John, asked me what I thought about the job, told him, and then a couple of days later he rang up and he said, you've not got the job as manager, but we'd like you to be the assistant. We've got Gary Pearce as manager. So they appointed Pearce, and I think they almost said to him, you can have the job, but we want this lad to be your assistant. So that was the first season up as sort of in the range at Accrington, really.
There's some big games around that time, wasn't there? The old Conquering Colne Dynamos, and it started to have a nice little bit of rivalry. Although they had all the money compared to Accrington at that time, didn't they, Dave?
Yeah, I mean they were taking players from all over the place, weren't they?
League players, weren't they?
There's more players in the stand than we had on the boots. Sat there, and he said, counting money was no object, but good luck to him. The guy put his money where his mouth was, and I had nothing but praise for trophy white. But we did play them in two games. We played them in one at their place where we got battered.
Yeah.
Well, we did. But PSC and myself were really disappointed because we spent Saturday morning or the morning of the game on the pitch practicing defending corners, and lo and behold, when we got there, kicked off at 3 o'clock. All what we'd done, all what we'd asked them to do, went by 5 past to go out through the window, and we lost the game. But the better game, of course, was I think it was Easter, where we managed to get
Easter
a big crowd on Easter Monday, and we won. No, we drew the game. I'm sorry, but the team that they had, it was packed with top non-league players, and certainly a hell of a lot of league players, wasn't there? Really.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, and that was the first time, really. I think with 2,000 in the ground, and it just started to feel then that given the right circumstances, we were going to be able to attract a decent sized crowd. I know for a local derby, but nonetheless, it was a great atmosphere, wasn't it?
That's right. It was a tremendous atmosphere, and I can still picture Gary Butterworth with his golden locks, flashing a left-footed drive that thundered into the bottom corner there, and we all went mad, and it was especially pleasing after being beaten up at their place, if you like, and hopefully it did the club and people who watched it a little bit of good. We thought, we could be onto something here.
Yeah, definitely. Then you became the manager. You took over from Gary. So how did that all come about, Dave?
If we were in a pub talking, me and you, I could talk about this for an hour. But it's I really could.
Yeah.
Pearcey, lovely lad, and I'm not knocking him one bit. Lovely lad. Played against Manchester City for Wolverhampton Wanderers and was the player of the thing. Tell you what, I'd swap places with him nowadays, but something to say about me. But one thing that Gary didn't have was experience of handling anything apart from kicking the ball against the wall. Because he'd been a pro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's no phone. I used to say to him, what are we doing, Pearcey? Well, this is the team. I'll ring him. No, you're all right. I'll go to top office. Top office was a red box outside his local pub. He put 10p in and phone people. So that was Gary. You know what I mean? A great lad.
Yeah.
But I remember having a bus stop at, I think it was Sutton or Eastwood. I think it was Sutton United, and Styrey had just come on board. And they'd actually, I think John Holty must have said to Terry siring that Piercy hadn't got a phone, and Terry really ripped into him in this bar afterwards, or the clubhouse afterwards. How the hell how do you expect to hold a job then like this when it's all about communication and people that to get over you, blah 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 blah. And the fateful day was somebody said something after we'd played at Eastwood Hamley again. Can't remember what the result was. I'm assuming that we'd lost it because let me tell you, the drive over on the coach from the directors was chalk and cheesy if you'd won or lost. It was all good, and I'll elaborate on my 2 tips. But I don't know what happened. I wasn't involved in it. But Piercy then suddenly stormed off the coach at Bury, saying, right, telling them what they could do with the job. And I got up, because he's no car either, and jumped to the girl. What have you done, girls? I resigned. I'm not going back, blah, blah, blah. And John Halsey rang me and said, look, Piercy's resigned. We want you to do it. We understand that you've been doing a lot of the work that Gary should have been doing, but he wasn't capable of doing because he hadn't got the wherewithal to do it. And so I said, well, yeah, I'll do it. And we went up to Workington, and we got one at Workington midweek. So it wasn't nice. It certainly wasn't nice in the back time. I like the guy. In fact, just pre-lockdown, I found out where he lived, and I went in 3 or 4 pubs around the area because he'd be in there having a few pints. And I was a little bit early. The last pub that I got to, he didn't turn up till about 9:30, and it was only about 8:30. So I've not seen him yet, but when we do see each other, there's no hard feelings. It certainly wasn't. There's nothing nasty about it. It was just the fact that eventually it was going to catch up with him.
So that was we're talking 89, 90 season, and then when you did take over, it went on a good run. Although finally, missed out to promotion in the end. So, what are your memories of that promotion push?
Well, we got a few new players in. We pushed for promotion. We got Andy Bondswell. I think that was the season we signed Andy Bondswell. John and I. Funny. I mean, I think it's been in some of these books, maybe in your book actually. But Bondswell was a hell of a player. Hell of a player for.
Oh yeah, he was. Anyway. Very strong player, wasn't it?
Harrogate Town, sorry. Harrogate Town. I said to, a couple of lads actually, I said, Steve Curley actually says, I'll tell you what, Dave, he said, somebody player, and he said, really good. Kenny Quigg rated him because he played midfield against Kenny. So I said to Quigg, to Curley, I said, do you think? I said, he was at the toilet, go and get his number. As simple as that. So Curley comes out with his number on the beer mat, slipped in my pocket. Thorns, you got his number. Andy's half interested. So John and I arranged to go over to Harrogate to see the lad. And on the way there, we spoke to Harrogate Town to sort of say, look, we'd arranged to meet Andy at 7:30. But at 7 o'clock going over, John on his car phone spoke to the people at Harrogate and said, look, we're actually on our way over to speak to Andy Bondswell. We want to do things right. Would you be interested? And I think it was a man called Smith, the guy who was manager. He said, you've no chance. He said, Billy Ayres wants to take him to, he's either Blackpool or somewhere. I think it was Blackpool. Billy Ayres was Blackpool at the time. Yeah,
Billy Ayres was Blackpool, wasn't he?
Yeah, he said he wants to take him to Blackpool. So you've no chance. So John said, I'll tell you what. He said, if we sign him, I'll give you £1,000 for him. So I don't think they were getting anything from Blackpool. So they said, well, you said, good luck, So anyway, we met Bomber, and he said, I don't want to play full-time pro. He said, I've got a job as an industrial chemist. I've got an Afro air product range that I import, and if I can play football, I'm happy. So they got the £1,000, and we got Andy Bondswell. And the next game was actually at Emily, and the lads were in the changing rooms all with our team had been announced. I'd only mentioned 9 players. Nobody knew about it apart from me and John, probably Joe Daly, who'd done the paperwork. And we sat there and said, well, can't play with 10 there, what's going on? So all right, don't worry about it, you'll be surprised. Yeah. Who watched Bondswell? Oh man, woof. And we beat Emily. And we had a good season. The worst part about the season was the last match we played Stalybridge. Not Stalybridge, Staley's team at Droylsden. We played them away and we got beaten. And lo and behold, Phil Staley He's walking across like a Cheshire cat with his arm out from the halfway, just crossing over the halfway of the pitch, walking full width of the pitch to shake my hand. I'm still there thinking, no, go away. You know, because I've heard so many stories of players playing for Droylsden from other counties when they've been suspended, etc., etc. I've known Phil a long time. And
we'll come on to Phil in a while.
I wouldn't. Let's put it this way: I wouldn't put it past him. But I have to stand there, with my hand out, shaking hands with somebody who just picked us. Fair dues. Most points wins the thing. But we didn't do it. So that was very, very sad. As you say, it was almost, but almost isn't good enough, is it?
No, we'll come on to that in a while.
Yeah, right now I think it's a good time. I think that we should actually maybe call this like our water break, because that's a new thing. We've reached about the halfway point of the episode, and we'll call this water break time. Because Dave, before we jumped on here, I had mentioned to you that we have one part of the episode where we do some kind of fun questions, and then we're going to get back to Darren has some more football questions and also some listener questions to come in the second half of the show. But for our water break here, we have what's called our rapid fire questions, and these are just kind of some fun, quick answer questions. So if you're ready, I'm going to get the rapid fire going.
Ready when you are.
All right. So the first one is, do you prefer red sauce or brown sauce on your bacon buddy sandwich?
Brown.
Brown?
Yeah.
All right.
Do I get points for this?
Yes, you will. And this is another one you get points for. Is mushy peas or garden peas?
Depends if it's with fish and chips. Mushy peas with fish and chips, garden peas with anything else.
I like it. And then do you prefer black pudding with your full English breakfast?
Yes, I quite like black pudding. I live about 2 miles from Bury, which is the world famous black pudding manufacturers. So, black puddings are on the board, yeah.
All right.
It's the home of the black pudding.
Home of the black pudding.
Is Bury. Black pudding.
Yeah, I've never even seen black pudding.
You don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, you'd be pleasantly surprised. You would. Yeah.
I'll have to try it when I get over. I'll have to give it a try.
Do you have Marmite over there where you are, Phil?
Do I have what?
Marmite.
No.
Well, that's Marmite's had a loaf thing, and black pudding I think is probably very much the same. I think.
We have chorizo sausage here.
No, they're not black. No, sorry, second place for them.
Well, while you're eating your full English breakfast, would you prefer to watch EastEnders or Coronation Street?
Oh my word! No.
I'm with you there.
I'm more likely to watch a recording of Match of the Day, to be honest with you.
Well, maybe you would prefer.
I'm not a soap fan. If it was one of the two, I think it would have to be Coronation Street.
I would prefer, actually, I'm not a soap guy myself. I would prefer either Sunderland Till I Die or Michael Jordan, The Last Dance. Which one of those would you rather watch?
See them both. I love the Michael Jordan one. I was amazed at how good the guy was. Absolutely brilliant. Sunderland was sad because that's a football club that's dropped through the leagues through poor management, etc. But the Michael Jordan thing I thought was absolutely brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah. I enjoyed both.
Double points there. You like them both.
Now, speaking of Sunderland, I heard some rumors come out this morning that Vince McMahon is a name being kicked around. What would your thoughts on that be? That would be the WWE chairman, Vince McMahon. Yeah, he apparently he's been mentioned for Newcastle before, but I guess there's some serious talks that he's looking into buying Sunderland. So that would certainly make season 3 of Sunderland Till I Die a little more interesting.
Well, if
I don't know the guy.
If you've got this number, I'll tell him not to bother.
Yeah.
I mean, Sunderland, I can remember a long while since, long before you guys, forgive me, when Sunderland they were the money team, and they bought a guy called Ray Daniels from Spurs, Trevor Ford from Aston Villa, and they spent money when transfer fees were 30,000, and that was big bucks, and they still couldn't win anything. I think they're one of those clubs, to be honest with you. Something transcended. I'll not say that. There's something wrong with the whole thing. It's quite frightening, really. I watched it. The guy who was the marketing guy, the smoothie, who then ended up effing and blinding all over the place in the last game, and really put his true colours out there. I wouldn't have him near a football club. That guy. He's no. I like football. I like proper football people, to be honest with you, Phil.
Yeah, I think that he's just kind of one of those guys, like you said, where he's more about the show than what's happening on the field, and it probably wouldn't be a good direction. And like you said, I know I read at one point in the early 1900s that I think 4 different times Sunderland had set the record for the most expensive signing in Europe. So I mean, like you said, I mean, this is a club with a lot of history, not even just recent, but going back, over 100 years. And, it's just one of those things where you really want to see them get things turned around and get back to where they should be, because their fan base certainly deserves it.
Yep, I agree. All absolutely there.
Well, let's just do a couple more of these rapid fire, and then now Darren has some listener questions that I think that we should do next. But before we finish up with the rapid fire, we need to know if you listen to the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. Which one would you prefer?
I'm a Beatles fan.
All right, me too. I like that one. And then we have 2 North American questions. Tony Robinson, who's one of our other co-hosts and actually came up with the rapid fire. He's Canadian, or actually he's originally from Accrington but moved to Canada. Their signature dish is called poutine, which is hot chips with cheese curds and gravy. And he wants to know if this is something he'd be interested in trying.
I've had cheesy chips, but I can't remember having them with gravy as well. Cheesy chips. My son lived in America for a long time, and I think there's a place in Florida called Outback.
Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah, we used to go quite regular, and the cheesy chips was always on the menu there. So cheesy chips, but not sure about the gravy.
Darren, I don't know if you're familiar with the Outback Steakhouse, but it's actually an American restaurant. But they pretend to be Australian.
Australian, yeah.
So that's where the Outback restaurant comes in. So that's something you'll have to ask Aaron about.
That's some mixture, that, in it, yeah. We'll ask Aaron about that one.
Yeah, ask Aaron about that one. And, it's like one of those, put another shrimp on the Barbie places. Aaron hates that, by the way. So you just drop that one onto him. But moving on to the last rapid fire question. Here in Phoenix, Arizona, we like to put jalapeno peppers on our pizza. So would you like to try a pizza with hot jalapeno peppers on it?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. At all. Just while you're on about that, we took mum-in-law to Florida with my 2 daughters and their husbands and the family, and my son was in America, so he flew down from Chicago. As a terrible joke, one of the lads gave my mum-in-law a jalapeno pepper. And I can picture her now. She's been dead 8 years, but I can still picture her now with her mouth quivering at the heat on it. So, but I'd have a go. I'd try it. She wouldn't. Bless her. So that's what your grandkids do to you. I'm just going through that now. So.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Take no prisoners.
I'd have a go at that, Phil. Yeah, I'd try one for sure. I would.
Yeah, those are good on pizza. You'll have to give that a try.
Phil, I didn't know that you were in Phoenix. I've been to Phoenix, well, Scottsdale actually, on business.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Scottsdale is about 15 miles east of where I'm at.
Yeah, good.
If you're a golfer, I'm sure that you enjoyed Scottsdale.
I didn't know. I hadn't got time to play golf. It was all business, but I was quite pleasantly surprised. We went out to, I think it was called Apache Mountain or something, and I hired this car, a driver in the car, to show me around these places, and we went past some massive big houses, monstrous. I think one was owned by the Ridley family. So it was a fascinating place. I loved it.
Oh yeah, the Wrigley Mansion is what you're talking about.
I love all of the states. I'm not keen on what's happened recently, but with a lot of trouble. But nonetheless, I must say I've always enjoyed my time in the States.
You mentioned earlier that you'd see the Cubs play at Wrigley Field. So you've been both Wrigley Field and Wrigley Mansion.
Yeah. I can't. Come to me. Another house that he showed. The skinny guy who was a singer. What the hell is he called? And it doesn't matter. We've not got time. But he showed him his house as well.
So you're talking about
Alice Cooper.
Yeah. He's from here. He went to high school about 5 miles from where I live at. Yeah.
Really?
Darren, do they have the Wrigley chewing gum in England?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So basically the guy that invented that chewing gum, he at one time owned the Chicago Cubs baseball team.
Right.
Why they play at Wrigley Field. And then he also, so everybody that has money and lives in Chicago spends their winters here in Phoenix. So then he had a big mansion here in Phoenix, and now it's like open to tourists and things like that. So that's kind of the backstory.
So plenty of money in chewing gum there.
There wasn't, Darren, there wouldn't if it wasn't for football. I've gone through some packages.
That's it. You always see the managers on the sidelines, don't you? Going back onto football, I've got a few questions off a few of the supporters who go on the memory site.
No problem.
So, Steve Law, obviously a big supporter of the club, local radio, etc. Yeah. Now, he's asking about players who you've managed. It doesn't have to be just at Stanley, who you thought should have played in the Football League and who only played in non-league. Is there any who spring to mind? Well,
we had some who actually went on to play the Football League, didn't we, from Stanley? We had Ian Blackstone.
Yeah.
Who got signed by myself following John Otis seeing him in Tenerife.
Gus Wilson at that time, right?
Gus Wilson.
Yeah.
Chris Porter, who played in the youth team. Yeah. And Lewis Chalmers, who captained the youth team in my last season there, who went on to play for Aldershot in the league. So that's without thinking. I've just rattled those four off who actually played whilst I was there at Stanley. And I mean, the other players, we had ex-pros like Graham Jones, who played at Luton when he was 16. Jones, who played for me at Stanley. Westwell, Simon.
He's a gentleman that coached at Luton this year, right? Was manager?
No, it's not. No, he's called Jones.
Not that Jones. Graham Jones. No, there was that. Graham.
Yes, there was. Yeah. You know, Phil, there's quite a few Graham Joneses actually living in football. But yes, you're right. I know you mean. No, it wasn't the same lad. No. Alan Crompton played at Sunderland. Grimmy, of course, played at Bury. Ash played at Burnley. So we've had quite a few, haven't we?
Yeah. So obviously there's quite a few who've sprung to mind there. So next question.
Could have done. I'll just tell you this quickie. We had this lad who people like Glossop were prepared to pay him. This is early 1980s, early to mid. Glossop wanted to pay 10. Colin Skillen he was called. And Glossop wanted to pay 10 grand for him. And they said no. He was a contracted player at Stalybridge, and Notts Forest came in for him. Notts Forest were going to sign him, and they were signing him on the Monday. He only played football in Liverpool when he shouldn't have done on the Sunday morning. He broke his ankle, didn't he?
Wow.
Now, Colin Skillen was hell of a player. Never recaptured, what he was about.
Yep.
But he was a good player, Colin Skillen. Good player.
Yep. Good stuff. So another question from Lowy. Another question from Lowy was best memories of Eric Whalley. So obviously someone you spent quite a bit of time with. We'll come on to a little bit later on. But
well, I've told you what Eric was like on the first day I walked in the dressing room, and that was Eric. With some great times. When I was working, if I was up in the area, I'd call him. We'd have a coffee. We'd talk about football. We'd go out for lunch. I had some great times with Eric. I mean, a lot of people didn't like him. He was blunt, but there's nothing wrong with that. We used to have, shall we say, argument. I mean, my idea of football and Eric's idea of football weren't really together. Eric's idea of football was get the ball forward. Everybody has a job to do. They all knew the marking. Stick with that man wherever he goes, and that's it. I've been brought up different than that, but it worked for Eric until he got to Morecambe. And then when he got to Morecambe, he got players like Billy Wright from Everton, Malcolm Poskett, I think, had played at Watford. Got Gary Buckley been at City. And you can't tell ex-pros without experience. They've got to follow Joe Smith from Marine round for 90 minutes. No matter where he goes, you can't do it. They'll just rebel. And I think that was the down thing of Eric. So we used to have arguments about football. We'd argue, and you think, it's going to come to blows this. And then 2 minutes later, we'd be walking off, going for a pint somewhere. So nobody will ever say anything bad to me about Eric. Love him to bits.
Oh, good stuff. So I'm jumping back to, we'll jump back into your Stanley management career. Just a couple of things I wanted to touch on. There, one big occasion was the Fleetwood match.
Yeah.
I'd been told the rounds, and then, oh Lord behold, just as that round came up, I ended up working in France and missed the game. So tell me all about it. I did hear a lot off my dad. Yeah. I was trying to ring my dad from a phone box in Paris. There were no social media to catch up on the game then. It was like ringing from a phone box to see how we'd gone on. But
that's right.
Yeah, go on, tell us about the game.
Well, we've beaten, and I'm not sure which order, we've beaten Blythe and we've beaten Gretna, who were two big teams at the end of the day. Gretna, we've beaten them both at our place. Gretna had a guy called Curls who played at fullback. I played Grimmy on the top wing in both halves. He played right wing kicking towards the changing rooms, left wing going the other way, and murdered them. Then we played the other team, and that was a tussle. Then, of course, as you said, we got Fleetwood. And the Friday night before the Fleetwood game, I got invited by Brian Hamilton, the ex-Everton player, manager, the Irish player. Yep. He had a program on Lowy's, on Radio Lancashire, and he invited me to go down, and the Fleetwood manager was there. And he was like knocking us, really, was Hamilton, with Accrington Stanley and big Fleetwood, and he got my nerves a little bit, to be honest with you. So I sort of put him right that, tomorrow, 3:00 tomorrow, will be the test, not what he's saying here. We played them. I think I got two forwards. I think Jock and Becky didn't play. Memory serves me right. I haven't checked that up. I've not anything to check it up with, but I think the pair of them didn't.
I know Becky missed it. Yeah.
Both of them would have done, and I think we lost 2-0 or something like that. But having chances, and of course it kicked off in the far corner, didn't it? For whatever reason, I don't know. But with a good crowd on, that's for sure. But it wasn't
definitely 2,000.
What is that? What it was? But it wasn't pleasant, I mean, the defeat's bad enough, but when you get people, wanting to scrap and God knows what, it just has no place in the game for me. I love the game too much.
Yeah, and I think when in those days, I mean, obviously we're mid-level of non-league, and you get a big game, you get a lot of people coming who don't normally follow the club at that point, and you tend to get trouble.
Yeah. I mean, just go back to the Frickley game. When Stalybridge, the idiots from Stalybridge, two coaches, just for a fight. Now I'm not saying these guys our Fleetwood game came for trouble, but they wouldn't be turning the other cheek. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know you obviously left Stanley that season, didn't you? Disappointed to leave. I know you came back.
I was disappointed. We've got a good team. John Holty had given me a budget, and then lo and behold, Colm Dynamos folded, if you can remember, just as the season was about to start. And that left Duncan McFadden and Simon Westwell leaking for clubs. So I spoke to Simon, went up to his house and spoke to him, and he said, I'm not sure because, I'm still waiting for some payout, some whatever it was that the PFA were telling him to hang fire, not to jump the ship too soon. Anyway, eventually we signed Simon and we got Duncan as well. Not for frightening money neither. There's nothing like the Ronald. John, in fairness, said, I think they'll improve the team. You think they'll improve the team? We'll up the budget. So I've nothing bad to say about John. But the worst part about it was, I'll be honest with you, was we used to train at Wilson's Blackburn.
Yeah.
And after training, we used to go in a little pub. And we're training one night, on Thursday, on Tuesday, I can't think what it was. And Terry Stein rolled up. He stood there, and we finished training. And the lads picked the gear up and went into the pub, and Terry Stein came into the pub. Next minute, he's asking the team what's going wrong. And I'm like sat there, and I'm thinking, this isn't right. Ask me what's going on, not the lads. What they're going to say? They're going to say, yeah, manager's useless. Are they going to say we need a new left back? Are they going to say, I want me on the bar, I've not been playing well? It just wasn't right. It wasn't the thing to do. And within a couple of weeks, of course, we drew the game against Netherfield, I think it was. I'd been ill all day, to be perfectly honest with you. You might not think I had, but I had. And my stomach was upset. And as soon as the game finished, I can't. It was Paul Webber, who was assistant. I said to Webber, I said, I've got to go. I feel rotten. Came home, and the phone rang, and it was somebody I don't know. I doubt it would be John Holty, to be perfectly honest with you. I can't think who it was, who said, we've had a quick meeting, and you're no longer the manager. Now, funnily enough, when I was with Eric, what John was like. He go through managers like water. They've been Frank O'Kane, they've been Kenny Wright, they've been no, Kenny was Eric. So there's been Frank O'Kane, they've been Jed Keenan, been Jed Walsh or somebody. All the names of all the people who managed, and they haven't lasted 2 minutes because John was, he pat you on the back and stab you in the back with the same hand, depending whether you won, drawn or lost. And Eric said to me, he said, if anything ever happens at Stanley, if you take over, never resign. He said, mate, I'll just sack you. So I thought, well, even though this escapade with Terry Stein coming into the club, really did get at me. You know what I mean? I thought it was underhanded, unnecessary, and a cheap shot. Short after that, we played Ratcliffe Borough. And Steve Curley, who's a mate of mine who played for us, was at Ratcliffe Borough. And Stein was going around talking to the players again about the manager. Curley said, he said, no, watch that bloke. He said, he's knifing you. He said, he's asking the players to stab you. It hurts, but
he didn't last long himself, did he? So
their money, they do what they want, but they got Mr. Staley, and that was the end of it.
Yeah,
but you've got to be, because money's never mattered to me in football, Darren. Really hasn't. I've been paid, and I was being well paid. I've still been paid as much as I wanted, but it's never been the love of the games, because I've got a nice house. I've always had good money. I've always had a good job. Got good money coming in. I've got a nice family, and that really was the football was the icing on the cake for me. Just being involved,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we talk about a lot on this show, especially in regards to Accrington Stanley, is that obviously now in League One, maybe the paydays are a little bit better than they were certainly 30 years ago, but it's still one of those things where you're not talking about millionaire players, you're talking about guys making a living wage and ultimately playing for the love of the game. And Dave, I just want to tell you first off, before we get to our last question, how much that we've enjoyed talking with you today, and we definitely need to have you back on the show again, because there's some things that we didn't get to. But before we wrap up here today, the one big question that I wanted to ask you is kind of looking back at the last 20 years with the 4 promotions, getting into Football League, getting to League One, and of course, you're still very active in following the team. You post quite often in Darren's Memories group. So I know that you've had your eye on the club over the past 20 years. Looking back to 1989, did you think then that you would ever see Accrington Stanley in League One, or is it just kind of blow your mind seeing how far the club has come over the past 30
No,
years?
I didn't expect to see them in League One, to be honest with you, Phil. And the reason being that it costs a lot of money to get into League One, or into League Two, or even into the conference, and you needed somebody like, and I've sung his praises, and I'll say it again. You needed an Eric Whalley, who was equally as a mad sportsman, but had a few bob. He was a wealthy man, a good businessman, Eric, very good businessman, looked after his money, but was quite prepared to put his money where his mouth was and get Accrington Stanley up the table. And it took him a while to do it. It took him a lot of money to do it, but he certainly needed somebody like him, not necessarily Vince McMahon or whatever the guy's called, who's coming in with money. You need somebody who had the passion to control the finances and to say to the manager and to say to John Coleman, who's done brilliant, John, don't get me wrong, absolutely brilliant. But sometimes people like John Coleman or any other manager need somebody to say, no, we're not doing that. And I'll tell you why. And Eric had the knowledge and he had the money to do that. He knew more about knowledge football than most other people because it was his passion. And he also had the money to get the club there. So in 1989, no, I didn't. When Eric took over, there was always a chance.
Yeah, it's just been an amazing climb, and really, I look back and see that what you did back in the late 80s and in early 90s with those teams, and it really laid the groundwork for what John was able to take over, and I think that's kind of one of the things that Darren and I have been doing with these shows is, kind of building that story and history so that people can, have an idea that, Accrington Stanley wasn't a team that was founded in 2005 and that there was, 35 years worth of blood, sweat, and tears that went into getting the team to the Football League in the first place.
Very much, but you know what a big part of it, Phil, was this silly name. I remember Darren at Baxenden, there used to be a little shop on the corner there with the motorway. Where you go left to Accrington, you go up the motorway to there used to be a little shop in there, and it had a photograph of Accrington. Yep. And I was in there one day having my bacon sandwich with brown sauce on, Phil, and a nice cup of coffee. I was sat there eating this thing on my way to see somebody about some business somewhere. I can't think where I was going, but nonetheless. And an old couple came in, an elderly couple came in, and they sat down at the next table to me. She turned around to look at the picture. And she said, "We're near Accrington." And the guy said, "Yes, we are." She said, "Accrington Stanley." Now, if you looked at the lady coming in, I bet she didn't know. I bet she didn't know about Manchester United. But she said Accrington Stanley, and I thought, my word, she's right. And that was always a big. The name Accrington Stanley will show.
Let me ask you this: when you took over in 1989, were you already aware of the commercial that had come out in 1988?
Oh yes, yeah. I was there. I was there when the milk commercial.
Yeah.
Yes, I was there. Yeah.
What you're saying is absolutely true, because I mean, as someone 5,000 miles away, that was kind of first searching for that team that I was going to follow, and then I heard that the team Accrington Stanley, and the name just stuck with me, and then I decided to research the history of the team, and the rest is history, as you say. Now we're here talking, and we've got the North American fan club going, and it's just so great to have you on the show and be able to talk about these formative years of Accrington history, if you will.
We had a place in Tenerife, not got it now, sold it, and I was sat at the side of the swimming pool one day, and Darren made me remember this. They actually printed a white T-shirt with Grimmy, a caricature with Grimmy on.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
And something to the effect of the milk advert. And Gareth, my son, who's now 36, was running around there, and he'd be 6 or 7. He's running around the swimming pool with his T-shirt on. And this bloke came to me. He said, "Excuse me." I said, "Yeah, can I help you?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "That's your son?" I said, "Yeah, it is, yeah." He said, "Oh," he says, "You manage Accrington Stanley?" I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "Well, I'm the sports editor for the Today newspaper." Now, the Today newspaper didn't last very long, if you can remember, Darren. It was,
Eddie Shaw.
Was it really? Eddie, as he said,
yeah.
It came and went. And this guy said, and he said who he was. He said, "I didn't know they were still in existence." I said, "Oh, yeah." And we had a chat. I told him what we were doing, blah, blah, blah. And he sent a guy up, and he actually put a centre fold in the Today newspaper about the club. Now, if it had been Hyde United, Staley, Celtic, Ratcliffe Borough, Chorley, or anybody else, he wouldn't have known. And that name is really, really good. Can I just tell you one more quick story about Eric?
Yeah, go on.
Absolutely.
Right. I had a Chrysler 300, right? Do you know the car, Phil?
Yeah. We have them here.
You have a bird. You do indeed. And on the front of it, I have what they call a Bentley grill, which is like a little crisscross grill that I paid more for. And it was a beautiful car. And I went up to Eric one day, and he said, "I like your car, blah, blah, blah," and we had this chat. Went up a couple of weeks later, he said, "Come in." So I went into the office in the little porter cabin. He said, "Oh, there's a bloke up here." He said, "He had a proper Bentley, not like yours," which is typical, Eric. You had to put you down before you potted on the bike. So I said, "Yes, Eric, go on, you got it in. Mine's like a proper Bentley, but it'll do me." He said, "No," he said, "he's just been up, and he's been twice. He came with a woman. And he wants to buy the club." So I said, "And?" So the first time he came up, he said he made me an offer. The second time he came up, first time he came up, he made me an offer, and Eric said, "Out you go, nowhere near." Second time he came up with within a range of Eric talking to him. But he also wanted to buy Horwich, who'd moved to Leigh, and merge the two clubs together. And he wanted to call them Lancashire United. And Eric actually said to him, I said, "What do you say?" He said, "After I've thrown him out, you just gained one leg in his car." He said to him, "If you think I'm going to give this bloody name of this club up for something like Lancashire United," he said, "I'll live local." He said, "My windows will be broken every night." So that's another story about Whalley. Just imagine Lancashire United.
We've got a name for the podcast episode now, I think, haven't we? Lancashire United.
Yeah. Oh, my.
Yeah. Oh,
that makes my stomach churn.
Yeah. Oh, no. Good stuff, Dave.
Well, Dave, it has been an honor.
Dave, thanks for coming on. Obviously, we didn't get through all the chat. You know, you've a lifetime in football, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
I'll 10 more pages here, Darren.
Yeah.
We'll get that sketched up shortly, but there's something that we try to do in every end of the episode. That's we finish up with an on Stanley on. Are you okay with that?
I'll go with that.
All right, here we go. On Stanley
on. Hey. Great stuff.
Cheers, Dave.